Hi, everyone, and welcome to the next interview of Masters of Manifestation Online Summit 2020. Today, I'm with Vikram BHARATI. Hi, I'm really glad to have you on here today.
Hi, Kevin. Thanks for having
Um,
me.
you're welcome. I'm glad to have this chat with you and to give exclusive insight to this audience about your journey and about how you manifested in a quite very short time the business you're running at the moment. Vikram is the founder and CEO of Draper Startup House, formerly Tribe Theory, which is an hostel for entrepreneurs and future startup business owners who first started in Singapore and then expanded in a few countries around Asia and now expanding globally around the world. So, can you introduce yourself in a few minutes with your own words so that the audience can know more about your journey and about who you are?
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Kevin. So, my name is Vikram Bharati, and I am the product of a father who is from India and a mother that is also from India, but she's Burmese in ethnicity. And I was born in India and moved to the U.S. When I was young to go to school, and I wanted to be a documentary filmmaker. That was
Mhm.
my one of my dreams when I was a kid, and so I moved to the States to follow those dreams, and ended up derailing my dreams and started a career in banking. I studied finance in school and joined a bank after I graduated, worked in banking for quite a bit of time, went to business school. And in business school, I studied quite a bit of, I took a lot of classes on venture capital and startups and entrepreneurship. And so after I finished my business school, I decided to take a massive shift in my life, and I went backpacking across South America. Backpacking was something that I've always wanted to do, but I never really had the opportunity, like most Europeans, where the backpacking culture exists, where you do it when you're very young. You do a
Mhm.
gap year and you go backpacking. But I did it much later in my life. But it was something I really wanted to do. And since this is a discussion of manifestation, it's interesting how that opportunity came about, because when I was young, my dad used to always bring these National Geographic magazines, and he subscribed to them. And I remember being a kid, reading these hardbound National Geographics and really dreaming of traveling to all these countries. And so that sort of manifested when I was older in my later down in my life. But yeah, I went backpacking across South America, did a lot of hitchhiking, a lot of couch surfing, and really sort of fell in love with solo adventure travel. And what was supposed to be a 6 months sort of adventure travel ended up being 2 years of me hopping around the world and really just seeing what's out there as a solo traveler, which then led me to I met a girl while I was traveling, and we're now married. We're about to have our second child, and that's what led me to Singapore. She was living here in Singapore. She's originally from the Netherlands, but she moved to Singapore a while ago. So I moved here and got a job running a small venture capital fund in Singapore. And my job was to travel around Asia, find interesting young startups to invest seed capital in. And I did that for a while. And during my travels, I was envisioning starting a chain of backpacker hostels that would be repurposed as a place of learning, education, and building companies. And so I pitched this idea to the fund I was working in, and they thought it was a good idea and said, "Why don't you go build it?" And so they gave me a small check and asked me to build a prototype very quickly. So in a month later, I launched a brand called Tribe Theory here in Singapore. I bought an existing backpacker hostel, reconverted into a new concept, and magic started happening. And so that's sort of the genesis of where Tribe Theory started, which is now Draper Startup House. Late last year, we got approached by Tim Draper, who is a well-known venture capitalist from the Bay Area, and he loved what we were doing, and he invested in us and asked us to join his ecosystem, which is a sort of global startup ecosystem, and we've joined that, and now we continue to sort of push our mission and vision forward.
Okay, great. Thank you for talking about your journey. And how old were you when you decided to backpack? Because you say that it's usually for the younger.
Yeah, I was in my early 30s. So I think I was
Okay.
31, 32, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Not that old. Still in the
I mean, I'm still young.
under 50. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
still young, and I guess it's just a few years a difference from when sort of people do it, but definitely I was not 18 or 19.
Okay. So let's talk about the beginning of Draper Startup House, and it was Tribe Theory, as you said, in Singapore. How did it all start with Tribe Theory? Was it an idea you had in your mind for a while? Was it more like an opportunity that came from outside and that you grabbed? Was it more like a feeling, an intuition, a calling from inside that like that suddenly arise in you and you have no choice but to follow? How would you describe the very beginning that started within you?
Yeah. So the idea started percolating inside of me when I was backpacking, and I sort of noticed a phenomena while I was traveling, and because I was solo traveling, I loved staying in backpacker hostels because that's where I would find other travelers. There was a sense of community. I loved the culture, and it's affordable, and really these spaces are really set up for people who are sort of solo backpacking. And I noticed four things in these spaces. The first thing I noticed was that these small spaces, whether it's in Lima, Peru, whether it's in New Zealand, or whether it's in Japan, wherever you went, these small spaces were like amazing gathering places and aggregators of travelers from all around the world. So fantastic, right? A small house, and you would have 20, 30 people from 20, 30 different countries hanging around, drinking beers and sharing stories of travel. So fantastic aggregators of people from all around the world. What a great phenomenon that was. The second thing I noticed was it's also a very great distribution point. You tell your story once to these groups of people and it sort of physically travels around the world. So great distribution point. And the third thing I noticed was that all of the spaces had very interesting people, and I call them seekers. So people who are young, they're looking for new things in life, new adventures. They may have had a heartbreak and they're traveling the world to forget their heartbreaks, or they're discovering new cultures, etc. So great groups of people. The fourth phenomenon, which is the most interesting one I noticed, was all of the spaces were only being used for travel and tourism. You go to a space, you do the pub crawls, you do the city walks, very amazing stuff, but very much only in the tourism space. And in the back of my mind, I was thinking, wow, these spaces can be doing a lot more because of all of these dynamics. These places could really be education spaces. They could be learning spaces. They could be places for people to build a company or a business. Great business networks can be forged. So, but I didn't really put it all together. These were just sort of observations in the back of my mind. And I just love the culture of backpacking and the culture of travel and the culture of these backpacker hostels. So to answer your question, I think the original idea was not it was not an aha moment, but it was really just observations which built over time. And then when the time came for me to say, okay, I really want to build something, I sort of wrote down all the things, all the ideas I had, and this was the one that really stood out. This is the one that I felt the strongest in terms of pursuing, because I realized that the potential, if this can be done well, is tremendous. And so, really, I guess it was built over time, and I guess the ideas came from outside, I suppose. And mixed with my experiences to then sort of manifest into an idea worth pursuing.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. There is usually that, or usually a big picture that is within for a long time already, like someone who has a strong calling. So I like to see that there is that mix between what you experienced and your own calling that was kind of hidden at a time, and your life experience allowed that to emerge and to be nourished. So you say that you started to have that in the back of your mind, and then you wrote down your ideas until you felt that this one was the strongest. How long did it take um, from the first moment you had those ideas until the moment you felt that, okay, this is the one I should go for?
Yeah, I would say it took about a year,
Mm-hmm.
because I had this, like, when I was in the venture firm and we were doing investments in startups, I I started having this itch that I want to build something of my own, because I would meet amazing, young entrepreneurs, following their dreams, and I would be listening to all these great ideas, and working with the company to see if we should invest in them or not. And I just wanted to build something of my own. So I think that desire to build something, um, to the point where I pulled the trigger to say, okay, I'm going to go build Tribe Theory. That was probably a 1 year a 1 year of a journey. And the reason why I think it took so long was I hadn't quite settled on an idea to pursue. I was toying with a lot of ideas, and prior to the venture firm, I had spent some time in Bangkok, and I was building a few companies there. We had built a marketplace for plastic surgery. We had built a food delivery business. We were working on building an accounting software. So I tinkered with building quite a few different companies. And I was coming to Singapore to raise money for these ideas. So I had a lot of ideas that I had sort of put out there in the world, but nothing really I didn't really settle on the one to pursue. But when I started thinking of this idea, this was the one that I felt that I should pursue, because if it can be done well, it could really be larger than life, and it could really be creating a new hospitality category within a very, very old hospitality industry. And so the idea was very, very appealing to me. It took a while. But in all honesty, I think we're still very early in our journey, and we're still trying to figure out where to take this company. So I don't think we have even scratched the surface of where this thing can go. We're still trying to figure it out. So it's still very, 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 very early.
Okay. Well, it's a forever lasting journey. Anyway, with full of growth and evolution and change.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. Um, so there is something really interesting there, um, because it's, as you said, it's something that you felt. So it's a feeling vs a thinking. And the feeling is usually irrational, illogical, something that we cannot really explain to others and not even to ourselves. So how would you describe that feeling? How would you describe the fact that you knew you had to go for that and not for the other ideas?
Yeah. Well, in the startup world, we always the underlining philosophy is always you've got to try something, you've got to validate a product or an idea, you've got to iterate it, you've got to change, you've got to move fast, you've got to that these principles I think are principles that I applied myself because I had an idea. No, I didn't know if it was going to work or not, but I did have to put something out in the market, build a minimum viable product, put something out there to see whether or not this idea would work, and so that's what I did. I took over an existing small property, did put very little capital into it, and it was really a prototype. And then we started getting feedback on the prototype to see whether or not and then we iterated and we changed it. So I think those mechanical principles are definitely something that we went through. But I think in terms of maybe your question's a bit more non-mechanical, which is maybe an intuition of like, hey, what made me decide to go for this idea? To be honest, I think I knew I just had to put something out there. I didn't know if it was going to work, but I think the process, really the process of taking a chance to pursue something, even if you don't know if it's going to work or not. I think that process, whether you're building a tech company or whether you're building a coaching company or whether you're building a very physically capital intensive business like what we're doing, I think whatever industry it is, I think the process of making the first leap, I think is the most important, because that first leap is where I think a lot of people struggle, because a lot of mental dialogue goes on whether it will work or not, or what if it doesn't work. There's a lot of questioning that happens in that first leap, but the process of taking the first leap is the one that triggers all the other good lucks or bad lucks or encounters you're going to have along the way. And I kind of feel that we're still in this situation where we've taken the first leap, and a lot of good things have happened, a lot of bad things have happened. But us taking the leap then opens up another whole dimension of possibilities. But those possibilities do not open up unless you take the first leap. And that first leap may even be the wrong leap. You may be jumping off the wrong ledge into the wrong puddle, but that leap needs to be made. And I understood that. From the philosophical perspective, I understood that. So, us putting up our first space was more an act of taking the leap, which I think was something that resulted in good things happening.
Okay. So before you took that leap, as you follow feeling and intuition, you have your analytical mind that is offering is resistance, and you have a lot of fears, self-sabotaging stories, limiting belief that show up before you take that leap and even after. But your ego, your subconscious mind try to prevent you of doing that. So what were your fears and self-sabotaging stories at that time before you pitched to your company the idea? Like, what could have make you not pursue this feeling?
Yeah. Certainly there was a lot of self-doubt. There was a lot of self-questioning. There was a lot of lack of confidence in an idea or in yourself. These are, I think, emotions that we all feel all the time, on a regular basis. And I think this is why it's important to have mechanical principles that you follow, so that you overcome, these mental models of emotions that can come in the way. And I had all of the feelings. I mean, I self-sabotage. This is a terrible idea. I working at a venture firm, you live a certain lifestyle where, as an investor, you have to live up to a certain image, and then leaving that image of being an investor to then going and cleaning toilets and changing bed sheets in dorm rooms is a state of activity that it can be uncomfortable, because the mind says, hey, you have prestige and now you're going to be cleaning toilets. This is, and so I think that self-sabotaging of I'm too good for this is clearly just a mental barrier. But I think overcoming this was, plus I really, really wanted to pursue the idea. And I think that's important. I felt this idea was something I had passion for, because I loved backpacking. I loved the backpacking hostel culture. And so this idea was something where I genuinely had a passion for. I don't think I could have done the same thing in trying to build a company that I had no emotional attachment for. If I had tried to build, I don't know, a SaaS platform for sales, I would have zero interest, and I would be doing it purely because I have to do something. But with this idea, I did have an emotional connection. I did have an emotional attachment. And so I had passion for it. And so so all the mental barriers were easier to break down because I felt connected to this idea.
That's great. That's great insight. Thank you. Something that I like to say is, like, when we have a strong desire, we usually have strongest fears, but it's easier to overcome them because we are pushed towards that thing that we're passionate about, that we feel is the right thing to do, even if we have no idea how it's going to turn out. But it's kind of stronger than us. Like we feel attracted to this intuition, to this idea, to the point where the motivation and commitments come easily in the process.
Yeah. And Kevin, I mean, I don't know if this is true or not. It's hard to say if it's true or not, but I do feel that this idea that we're pursuing at the moment, right? Trying to build out this concept of a new category of hospitality. I think we're still very early in the idea, and we're very challenged right now because of the COVID situation. It's terrible, right? It's the worst perfect storm for what we're doing in terms of cramped, small community spaces, bunk beds, dorm rooms, events, international travel. Like it's everything we're doing is the worst thing you could be doing during this time. So we're very, very challenged. But putting that aside, because I think that will at some point disappear and the world will return to some sort of normalcy, I think this idea, I have a strong feeling, whether it's right or not, or true or not, that I don't know, but I do have this strong feeling that this is the best idea for me in my life to pursue, because it almost feels like I was put on this planet to do this. And the reason for that is the confluence of all the things that I like, and the confluence of all the things I'm good at, and the confluence of all the things that I want to do in life has really come into this idea. And I kind of feel like I am probably in the entire planet the best suited person to build this. Maybe not lead this in the future, but at least to get it started, to get it to a point where I can get a professional CEO to come and professionally manage the business if we get to that point. But in terms of the person to really launch this thing into the world, I think I just had this feeling that I was put onto the planet to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of all the things that have happened in my life, feels like it's led me to the point where I must and have to launch this thing. And I hope we succeed, and I'm optimistic that we'll succeed. It may look different from what I had initially imagined, but the strong sense of, why did I have this urge to go backpacking and really learn about the backpacking culture? Why is it that I ended up getting a job in a venture firm and really getting involved in the startup ecosystem? Why is it that all of these things happened, which is now coming into this idea, feels like it is almost out of my hands, in the sense that I was meant to do this. This idea was supposed to flow through me. That's now, you're the expert. I don't know if these feelings are true or not, but that's just the feeling that I get.
Yeah, I completely resonate with what you say. It's what I talk with my client. My clients are like you, like those people who journey unfold suddenly into a business, and like what you say, because you dare to be yourself. You dare to do things in your past that allow you to be who you are right now. And your backpacking journey, your venture journey, your bank journey, your child journey from India to US, like everything becomes a key point of what you're doing right now. Um, and you dare to be yourself. You dare to be true to yourself, and you dare to pursue your desires, even if you have no idea, as you said, how it's going to turn out, and even less nowadays with the COVID situation. But I like what you say too, that you don't know about the CEO part, but what is important is you're the visionary founder. So you're not doing that just to do something and make money behind. You're doing that because it's a calling, and you're excited. I'm pretty sure you're excited when you woke up 2 years ago and started to create that, and you're as excited today because you're the one who gave birth to this feeling, and you move from mind to matter. Literally, it's your baby, it's your project, and you're the one leading it because it belongs to you. You it first grew up in your head and in your heart. So obviously you're the only one person who can do this at the moment, because you're the one who gave birth to that idea in the first place.
Yeah, I certainly, I mean, there's a lot of that I do agree with, in the sense that, getting something off the ground is always the hardest thing. And by doing so, you are, giving birth to an idea that was a mental idea, then you're putting it out in the world in a physical, in a physical form. And that first step is definitely very exciting. And I do agree. I mean, I'm very excited about what we're doing. It has a lot of challenges all the time, and there's moments where I question whether or not we're doing the right thing. But it, in general, I think I'm very excited about what we're doing, and I think it has a lot of potential, and it's larger than life. At least our mission, and that's the thing that I'm the most excited about, because I don't want to spend my time building something that's going to be something that won't itch my need to build something larger than life, which is, will have a positive effect in the world. And if I were to be building, something that I'm not excited about, I don't think I would have the courage to continue on through the challenges. And with this idea, I feel, the larger mission we have, which is to create a new category in hospitality, which will then help us, create 1 million businesses around the world. And I think that piece is the one that I think is larger than life, in the sense that, the thesis that we have in the company, and the thesis that I have, is when I look at around the world and I say, okay, how can I contribute to the world? How can I contribute to the planet that we live in? How do I contribute to the people in this world? And the contribution that I want to make is based on the thesis that what is the most important thing I could be doing, and what is the most important idea that I could be pursuing. And for me, it lands on the fact that I think this idea of entrepreneurship, which has many different defining definitions, but the general idea of entrepreneurship is this idea is a very probably the most powerful tool that humanity has, because it is through this idea of entrepreneurship that we solve problems. And we can solve any problem, whether it's environmental problems, whether it's wealth inequality, whether it's disease, whatever problems that we will be faced with. The idea of building a business, or the idea of entrepreneurship, which is really finding solutions, that practice is the most powerful tool that as humans we have created. And the more people we enable to then think from an entrepreneurial perspective, the more problems we can solve. And so we have set the mission of the company to say, all right, let's use this platform to then go out and help create 1 million entrepreneurs around the world. Whether it's through enabling funding of 1 million entrepreneurs, whether it's networks we build, whether it's inspirations and empowerment. But let's go out and create 1 million entrepreneurs. And that's going to be our contribution to the world. And that is the idea that keeps me excited, because that's larger than life. And I'm naturally drawn to doing this.
Yeah, you're literally driven by it's not even a big picture. It's something bigger than life, as you say. That I like the way you describe it. It's bigger than you. It's bigger than life, and your purpose. You create your purpose in the other purpose of helping others, like you find your own place into that big picture. It's not just about you. It's about how you can be in service of others in order to achieve this bigger picture.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that the industry that we're in is very exciting. I think generally real estate and hospitality people think it's a boring industry, which in general it can be. But I think because we are creating a category of hospitality and real estate, this very old school industry, but the people that are coming through the spaces are working on very exciting stuff. I mean, they're working on space technology, and they're working on cell-based foods, and they're working on amazing, a lot of biotech stuff, a lot of futures, very futuristic stuff. Now they're working on machine learning and AI, and also very traditional things. We have people, but essentially everybody who is in our ecosystem of customers, partners that are involved in what we're doing are all trying to build things. And I think that is super, super exciting. And, we are a catalyst, and we're really enabling an environment or ecosystem where people can build things and pursue their dreams. And it's kind of like I can go out and pursue my dreams, but if my dream is to let other people build their dreams, it sort of has like this cascading effect. And I think that snowballs into, value that gets created by 1 + = 11 kind of thing. And so
Yeah.
that is the idea or the concept that really, really excites me.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. Let's go back to the manifesting journey. Um, so 3 years from now in the past, it was an idea in your mind, and today you're part of that Draper ecosystem for entrepreneurs. You expanded globally. Now you're not just in Asia, but you start to be all over the world in terms of location for Draper Startup House. So it's literally, it's not a gradual growth, it's an exponential growth. That's not every business experience. What are the practices, like the mind practices, the visualization practices that you've been doing um, that allow this exponential result to occur?
Yeah. I definitely, I on a very regular basis, I close my eyes and I envision what my life will look like, and what things will look like, the stuff that we're building, what would it look like, and it looks glorious in my mind, and I love visualizing that, with Draper Startup House, we are going to be a company, that's going to be a global company, and it's going to create a new category, and it's going to really, enable 1 million entrepreneurs around the world. That idea is something that I certainly, I physically, you close your eyes and you think about it. So that's definitely something that I do very frequently. But also, I think writing it down, like writing down your goals and signing a piece of paper and putting it in a place where you see it every single day is something that I have done. And I have a piece of paper on right next to my bed, so I see it every time I go to bed, every time I wake up. There's a piece of paper that I've written my 10-year goals, and I've signed it, and I've broken down my 10-year goals into 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and every year there's a milestone that I want to hit. The first milestone, first year, was launch Tribe Theory, and we ticked that box. And the second year was be in 5 countries. We ticked that box. Third year, 15 countries, which we're not going to hit. But just and the 10 years, there's a lot of goals and milestones that I want to hit, which it's written, it's on paper, and it's signed, and it's on my wall. Now, whether or not we're going to achieve all of those things, for me, it helps me that I have written a contract with myself, and it's not a contract for the world; it's for myself, and it's with me. And I found that practice of just writing it down, signing it, and pasting it on the wall, and saying, "This is the contract with myself in my life," has helped me. And of course, everyone has their own practices that help them, but for me, this has been a very powerful one.
Yeah, I love it, and it's not just in your mind; it's in front of your eyes. So you don't just think about it; you can see it every day, and you're consciously committed towards it. Because when you wake up, you think about it because you see it, and before to go to bed, you think about it because you see it, and it's like it nourishes your mind again and again and again. You repeat that, and from my perspective, these allow what you call luck before, that allow you to experience that growth, and I call that synchronicity. For me, there's absolutely nothing to do with luck or coincidence. It's the sign of synchronicities, that because you're committed, and you're committed to one of your desire, without limiting yourself to like 1 or 2 countries, but by dreaming bigger than yourself, then there is the sign of synchronicities that occur, and as you said previously, it feels like it's out of your hands. Um, like it's happening fast. It's happening kind of easily somehow, um, and those synchronies that happen allow you to grow exponentially like a rocket. So can you tell us more about this synchronicity that happened with the Draper ecosystem? Like, how did it start with Draper ecosystem? Were you chasing them? Did they reach out to you? Like, how did that synchronicity happen?
Yeah, no, I certainly did not expect it, and it was not something we were chasing. It was not something we were actively seeking.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, literally, the way it happened is Katie and Daniel, the two people who worked for Tim, and now are business partners in the U.S. They walked in our door, and they read about us, and they walked through our doors in Singapore and said, "Hey, we'd love to learn more about this." And I happened to be there, and we chatted, and next thing you know, I'm flying to San Mateo to meet Tim, and get an offer from them. And so I think this was 100% things coming to us as opposed to us chasing. I mean, I certainly knew about Tim and the Draper ecosystem, but it was never something that was in my mind to say we should be pursuing these guys. But it was a natural fit, and I hope that we can continue to sort of build on this idea. But I would say certainly it was things coming to us because I suppose we were doing something that they found valuable and they found potential in. So the act of us just building stuff and going through the motions of building a company and getting noticed, it was all we did, and the rest sort of came to us.
Okay, and so yeah, and you're open to the unexpected um, as well to help you, and it's a beautiful sign of alignment with what you wrote down on your goal list. You say like 3 years being present in 15 countries, and then boom, there's that opportunity that say hi and allows you to grow globally, completely aligned with the vision you're drafting since the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the beautiful part of the manifesting journey. There are also the downsides of it. I think it's important to say to people that, hey, this is not a Walt Disney cartoon, and not everything is always beautiful. And right now, I think COVID-19 is one of the challenge, struggle, problem you have to face while you pursue your initial idea. So, how did um, well, I think we already know, and you talk about it. How did it impact your business today? Because your business is alive as long as people move, and right now people cannot move. So, so more than talking about how did COVID impact your business, what are the shift or fast strategies you had to implement in order first to survive?
Yeah. Well, COVID has been absolute disaster to our business. I mean, it's been a perfect storm, as I said earlier. Everything that can go wrong has gone wrong. Every single component of our business has been impacted dramatically by this state of affairs in the world, which we don't have control over. But I think where we have done well to adapt is um, is having a business model where we did not rely on just one thing, and this was the always our plan from the very beginning was to say, okay, well, you look at traditional hospitality, essentially there is travel and tourism is the main thing that is a business model of any of these hospitality companies. And that's been the way forever is travel and tourism as the main, F&B, accommodation, entertainment. Those are like the main components of the business model. And of course, there's a real estate component, but that's also very challenged now. We wanted to do all of those things, but we also wanted to have a larger mission, which is enabling people to build businesses. So we have a business, a revenue channel that is education. So we do a lot of education and
Online education, I guess.
Yes. So right now it's all online. Everything is shifted online. But the good thing is we were able to shift the education piece online. And the other thing we have been very busy with is we help people raise money, and that's a business model that we have. So we have a ventures platform where we have hundreds of companies from around the world on the platform, and we have hundreds of investors from around the world on the platform, and we facilitate deals. We help people raise money, and all of these things, education and financial services, really were things that we were doing physically before. But when COVID hit us, we essentially moved those things online. So we've been very busy with delivering online education and also helping people raise money globally from global investors, and we're doing it online. So these are the two things that have kept us very busy. And we got lucky. I mean, I wouldn't say lucky, but from the very beginning, the business model was we want to have a very full stack of a hospitality company that has revenue streams outside of hospitality, outside of travel and tourism. And so those things have kept us going. And now that as the world is slowly starting to recover, we're seeing the physical, piece of the business also slowly starting to come back. And so we call it the hardware and the software business. The hardware business is the real estate, the travel, the accommodation, the tourism. And the software piece is really the programs, the education, the venture funding. And so the software piece during COVID, we've been very busy with, and the hardware piece very challenged. But maybe this COVID thing is going to be great for us because we realize that maybe we should focus more on the software and less on the hardware. So these are all things we're learning now. But we've been definitely more fortunate than other hospitality companies because of our diversified business.
Okay. Yeah, it's very important to not have only one source of revenue, because once this one is impacted, like if like you die in terms of business. And I have a friend who's been through that. I have a friend who is in the digital nomadism industry, and at the beginning of the year he invested millions, and his business is bankrupt right now, like just a few months after he invested in it, because it was his main source of revenue, and the business didn't survive.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and Kevin, I think a lot of things are. We like to think that we have control over everything. I mean, the truth is we don't. And timing is something we don't have control over. And sometimes you hit the right timing and things go amazingly. Sometimes you hit the wrong timing. Everything else is equal, right? Talented people, great idea, lots of funding, all the things go, but if you hit the wrong timing, and there's a great case study done by I forget the name, but there's a startup incubator or accelerator in Pasadena, really famous. They've created thousands of companies. So they looked at all the thousands of companies that have helped built over the last decades, and they try to find what is the one thing that has been the key to success for all the successful companies.
Mm-hmm.
And they found that the one thing that is the only one thing that has been the key thing is just timing. Timing has been the one thing that has made a company either successful or not successful. And so who knows, maybe we have the right idea, we got the right backing, but maybe we hit the wrong timing. I don't know. I guess time will tell, but we just have to keep going.
Yeah, and about time, there is a quote that I like about life and business, was about Steve Jobs said, you can only connect the dots when you look backward. That means that what you say about COVID, like you don't know yet what is going to be the impact of COVID. It's because you will know that in a few years. You will know that when you will be able to
Exactly.
look backward.
You're right. And let's say in 2 years from now, we look back, maybe COVID is a thing that's going to save us because,
Mm-hmm.
like the thing I keep thinking about is we got super lucky that we raised some funding right before the pandemic hit, right? Which was a great blessing. And so that's helped us survive. And maybe when this thing dies out, maybe we'll be standing, right? We will be one of the few companies standing, which means we will have great opportunities ahead of us because we're the last man standing kind of sense of thing. So if we can survive through this, and a lot of our competitors, wash away, and we're one of the few companies standing, then what a great opportunity that can be. But we don't know that until we look back, years later. So yeah, I guess you just never know.
Yeah, that's true. I have two more questions for you, Vikram. The first one is personal. So, if there is one thing that you could pursue right now with the guarantee of 100% chance of success, like maybe another leap of faith, another desire you haven't pursued, like something that it is within you, an idea that you maybe doubt or not, I don't know, but if you would pursue that thing, you would have a 100% guarantee of success. What is that thing that you would do right away after we finish that conversation?
Wow. Well, okay. Just for clarification, do you mean like a business idea or like a personal endeavor, as in like you know go, friendships or family, or do you mean like a business idea to pursue?
And anything that you feel from within is the right answer.
Okay, well, the one thing that I have recently been very interested in and passionate about is learning more about and getting more involved in the the ecosystem around genetic engineering. And this is
Mm-hmm.
something that has been I have been sort of when I can't sleep at night, do a lot of research, and I'm building a small side passion project around what are the different things within the genetic engineering ecosystem where I can build something. And the reason for that is over the last couple of years, I've gone through fertility, and we're trying to, we have a family a new family. We have a 2-year-old daughter, and we have another one coming. So I have gone through the, the fertility process, and I have learned a lot about, wow, genetic engineering it's not a thing of the future. It's here. It's not a science fiction thing. The
Mm-hmm.
technologies that are here today around DNA sequencing and really creating humans that it's fascinating. And so that is an area that I'm actually working on, and I think that's something that it's super exciting.
Okay, thanks for sharing. It's a first time I hear about someone being passionate about that. So yeah, genetic is, I believe, is going to be a very important topic in the next years,
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
because like epigenetic and all the things that we discover about genetic is quite amazing.
yeah, exactly. And for me, the first principles idea is, we as humans think that we have evolved to our full capacity, and that's not the case. Like, humans are evolving all the time, and we're so unevolved compared to where we're going to go. It's, but we think that humans have evolved, and we just haven't. And there's going to be a lot of factors that are going to help us evolve, over the next decades and centuries. And so
Mm-hmm.
for us to think that the way you and I look and feel and can operate is the holy grail of where we're going, we're so in the beginning stages. So um, it's a very, I mean, what more important topic could there be than Homo sapiens 2.0 or Homo sapiens
Mm-hmm.
2.0, right? That is,
Yeah, that's there. There is an image that I like is, imagine that is a baby that just born in like 300 years ago from now, and a baby just born right now, and you exchange those babies,
yeah,
like they will grow in a different environment, but without any problem because we haven't evolved. So in an environment there's like no electricity, like very rustic kind of lifestyle, and the baby will grow perfectly, and the other baby will grow in an environment with like internet, electricity, travel around the world, etc.
yeah,
Would have no problem as well,
yeah.
because we haven't evolved, and we can and the next steps will be quite impressive in terms of evolution, because we are like at a stagnation level for a few centuries or millennials at the moment.
Yeah, and the surprising thing is, the science that's available today. I mean, I live in Singapore, which is a very progressive city in terms of research and R&D and all the labs that are here, and the stem cell research that's happening here. It's the science is, it's more advanced than we know, than most
Mm-hmm.
people know, and I think that's very exciting, especially with computing power, becoming really powerful. It's I think in our lifetime we're going to see some dramatic genetic engineering happening.
Yeah, I believe that as well. So I have a last question for you, and it's an advice. An advice for people who are watching or listening us at the moment, or either at that stage where they have, like you had, this mixed feeling of ID, intuition, calling that they want to pursue, but it's not rational, it's not logical, and they haven't dare pursuing it yet. Or people who are already there to go for it, but kind of feel stuck and trapped in wondering how to get there. What would be your best advice for those people?
Yeah, I don't like to call it advice because I don't think
Okay.
I'm qualified to give advice. But what I like to say is I'd like to share my insights on what has worked for me, which is you've got to be willing to be illogical. You've got to be willing to fail. You've got to be willing to make mistakes. And I think that is for me has been the most difficult barrier, is the willingness to make mistakes. And I think the more willing you are to make mistakes, the more risks you will take. So the willingness to make mistakes and fail, and be wrong in the pursuit of things that excite you and the things that keeps you alive, in the pursuit of the things that make you alive and makes you feel productive. And I think the willingness to make mistakes and the willingness to fail has been, for me, the thing that I always try to remind myself.
Thank you for that insight. And for those of you who bought the premium package of this online summit, it's something that you're going to work on. And talking about what you say before, writing down what you want to achieve. So for those of you who bought the package, you're going to write down what you want to achieve and be clear on what is limiting you. And if you have those fears of failure, doing mistake, there are ways to reverse it. And you can work on your mind to reverse those fears and start to be excited by the fact that maybe you're going to fail or make mistakes, because it's going to happen anyway. It's obvious, and the biggest failure that can happen to you is not pursuing your desires, your exciting ideas and intuition. So not going for it is a mistake and a failure anyway. There is no way to avoid it. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your openness and vulnerability about sharing your story today, and the really valuable insight you gave us. For those of you who want to know more about Draper Startup House, you can click the link on the email that's announced this interview, and you can be in touch with Vikram as well on probably Instagram or Facebook.
Great. Thank you, Kevin, for having me, and we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, have a very good day, and congratulations on your upcoming baby.
Thank you.
Doing a great new adventure.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Bye.
See you. Bye.